And welcome back, everybody. It's John Diadamo here, and I'm here with Matt Shelton, Managing Director of Wildcat Report, as Michigan and Northwestern are battling for bowl eligibility, because that's where we all thought we were going to be this year. Bowl eligibility, really setting the bars high, but here we are. Matt, thank you so much for taking some time to join me. I know you're running around and covering basketball and all of that stuff, so really appreciate you coming on to Michigan Voice College Football.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So this is an interesting thing, and for the record, I've been on a couple of these shows where we rank the head coaches. And I've actually had David Braun really high on a lot of my rankings. And my reason for that is because I think he took over a nearly impossible situation. And he went 8-5 and I saw his demeanor when he had his first ever press conference, like at the Big Ten at the Big Ten Media Days. He was not looking so jazzed. He went from that to 8-5. So that was a very remarkable first season. I put him very high in my rankings. And then year two, obviously another year where, maybe a slight regression, but still, I mean, look, there were people who had Northwestern at like 1-11, 2-10. I think David Braun's done a pretty damn good job overall. But here we are, coming up on Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Michigan and Northwestern playing at the Big House. So, Matt, I guess first thoughts on this matchup, this battle for whoever wins goes to a Quick Lane Bowl or a who knows bowl, but at least it's a bowl with those additional practices. I mean, talk to me about what this game means to Northwestern.
Yeah, I think our fan base at Northwestern will probably be a little more excited about the Quick Lane Bowl than yours. Just a hair. No, I mean, I think for us, there's still, kind of the last resort of, maybe we get in at 5-7 if we can upset Illinois the week after. So I don't think we necessarily see this as the be all end all for Northwestern's bowl chances. But obviously, I think it still has the potential to be a close game, and I think the staff and the team are taking it very seriously and absolutely want to go into Illinois with an opportunity to get to 6 wins, or already have kind of the academic progress in their back pocket. But I mean, certainly not going to be an easy trip, and the Wildcats have not fared well on the road at serious, with serious home field advantages. I think they're 2-2, but they win at Purdue and at Maryland, and Ross-Ade Stadium was a sellout, and it's a great environment. But when they've gone to Washington and Iowa, which are 65,000 plus, the combined score is 64-19 and 2 losses. And I mean, obviously, I don't need to tell you about what an impact the Big House can have. So
yeah.
I think it's definitely going to be a really tough environment, but I think the team's going in with an expectation to compete.
For sure, and I think that one player that I've been rooting for, I have this philosophy that when a player leaves Michigan, because sometimes things don't work out, just couldn't find their footing or couldn't find their way to a primo spot on the depth chart. AJ Henning, a lot of Michigan Wolverines remember AJ Henning as being somebody who was really excellent, especially with some of the gadget plays, some of the reverses, some of the end arounds. He was utilized a lot in that capacity, more of a horizontal threat than a deep threat, but he has had 45 receptions. He's had 468 yards and 3 touchdowns. So very exciting to see AJ Henning. And so I can't root for him in this game, but I have been rooting for him overall. But I guess, this is a tale really, right, of of two defenses that are pretty solid and two offenses which are not. and so we're similar in that way. But like, talk me through kind of the matchup here, offense versus Michigan's defense, and Jack Lausch and what he's been able to do both kind of in the air, but also he has been a threat on the ground too a little bit.
Yeah, Lausch has been a bit of a roller coaster so far. I definitely think they came into the season with Mike Wright as their starter. I definitely think Lausch is the best quarterback in that room. I think he's made that clear. And it's the world of Northwestern offense is one of those things where you set all these benchmarks where you're like, that is just base competency. And it's like when they reach that, exceptional things happen. The problem is they rarely reach that. Like, for instance, when Lausch throws for 200 or more yards, Northwestern is 3-2, and the only two losses are to now number 2 Ohio State and now number 5 Indiana. So right now, so long as the team isn't in the top 5, whenever the quarterback throws for 200 yards, undefeated. But you've had games against Iowa, Wisconsin, Washington where they've just been wiped off the map. Lausch has been well under 100 yards. He's been well below. I think he was around 50% completion in Iowa, but he's around like the high 20s, low 30s in the Wisconsin and Washington games. He's shown more stability recently. I think we were all very surprised with how well he played against Ohio State. It's a 31-7 loss, but it's Northwestern playing Ohio State, and he was one of the only 2 quarterbacks to throw for 200 on the Buckeyes. So I think they're very pleasantly surprised by that, and he's trending in the right direction. But I think the real, to answer your question more directly, I think the real issue is going to be how much I think Michigan's D-line can really set the tone in this game. I think there's just a real chance that it trends back towards that kind of wiped off the map kind of situation where Northwestern's offensive line wasn't a strong suit to start the season. They're on their backup center. They're on their second backup left guard, who's a true freshman, and they're just not generating a lot of push up front. And when that happens, then it becomes on Lausch to dissect the defense, and he's just not really there yet. So I think it'll be a huge advantage. I'll save some of the prediction stuff for when we get to that, but I definitely think Michigan's defense is more of a leg up on Northwestern's offense than vice versa, just because I think both of Michigan's lines, I think, can really just lean on Northwestern in a way that the way that they can't reciprocate.
Yeah, you'd think that this would be open and shut, but we also have to remember the Wink Martindale of it all. And even though there are multiple first-round draft picks on this defense, you also need to remember that he's been putting Mason Graham in multiple occasions away from his position and on the edge. He's also been putting Ernest Hausman away from his position. He's been over-blitzing. There is a possibility that you could exploit some of these idiotic play calling moves with a dual. I would consider him enough of a dual threat quarterback where if Wink decides I'm gonna just bring everybody, you can use an AJ Henning to have like a stretch or some type of very quick screen, because if they hit the one guy, they're going to the house. If they just get past one guy, so you've got some different people here. One that I've kind of had on my radar is Cam Porter. So obviously, 42.5 rushing yards a game doesn't sound amazing, but he has scored 6 touchdowns within that. Plus, he's a factor in the receiving game. Is that somebody who you think could be utilized in like a screen capacity, or hey, let's stretch the field a little bit so that if Wink is just going to blitz and be over aggressive, you can exploit that?
Yeah, to talk about the over blitzing thing, I do think generally I am impressed with what the staff and team has done with the existing talent of getting to this stage of the season with a potential bowl game still on the table, I don't think you can overblitz Northwestern. I mean, I think Ohio State and a couple other teams, it's the blueprint is kind of there where it's like when you have, and I think Kurtz and Henning are both very good receivers, but when you have the physicality on the outside, all you need is just with Northwestern's offensive line right now, all you need is a second or two, and you're going to get to Lausch. I think that was something that Ohio State's defense really figured out down the stretches. They're like, if we just bring 6 or 7 guys, they're not going to be able to get Lausch can't process quick enough, and they're not going to be able to get open in time. When we have guys, like you said, that if you got Sunday players against Northwestern on the outside, it's very difficult for them to overcome. In terms of Porter, I think he's definitely, his counting stats are, again, definitely hurt by, I think, some of the struggles up front. He also missed a couple games early in the season. It was real kind of a Freaky Friday situation against Purdue. He kind of racked up receiving yards, and Joe Hyman was on the ground. But normally that's kind of flipped. So in terms of the screen game, you'll probably see that go more to Joseph Hyman II, number 6. But Porter's definitely come on as much more of a receiving back this year, and he's very versatile. It's definitely one of those players of like, I don't think it's a bad season for Northwestern by any means yet, but you wish he were able to have what is potentially, I think, going to be his last season at Northwestern. You wish it were on a better team, just frankly, in terms of him being able to produce to what he should be able to.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I do think that talent is going to be a factor here because even though I think Wink has not done a very good job on the overall schematic approach and play calling, the talent is still there, right? And so Josiah Stewart, you talked about players getting in the edge, and Josiah Stewart could do that on the outside as well. So it's going to be an interesting matchup there. And I think just as lopsided is the other side of the coin, right? Because obviously Northwestern's defense, 58th in the country, nothing to scoff at there. Michigan's offense is. And I will say that Davis Warren I think Davis Warren's the best of very few options. However, and there's plenty of episodes of Michigan Wolverines Live that dissected that. However, here's where we are. So Northwestern's defense, who do you think will be some of the players that are going to impact Michigan's line, which does have some holes, some injuries? Who do you see really kind of maybe getting to Davis Warren or some of the players that we should be watching out for?
Yeah, in terms of getting to Warren, I think he's been there's an injury earlier in the season, but also I think teams have done a good job of scheming towards him. So he hasn't gotten a sack in a while, but Anto Saka has been the team's pass rush specialist, and he was really a game changer at the start of the year. Had really incredible speed off the edge. He was recruited out of high school as a 4-star, and he was playing like one. Again, Ohio State was able to limit him pretty well, but again, they've got quite a few Sunday players, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But so yeah, if you're looking for in terms of game breakers at the end, it'll be him. It'll be also potentially Jalen Pate or Aiden Hubbard. With the defense overall, I think a really, really pleasant surprise for the team has been redshirt freshman Damon Walters at safety. Coming into the season, they had Devin Turner and Coco Azuma back there, and it was already one of the strong suits. Then Turner went out. Walters came in injury relief, and he hasn't. And even though Turner's gotten healthy since, Walters has kept the job, and now it's Turner and Azuma rotating at the other safety spot. So I think it's going to be pretty ground and pound for Michigan. That's what I would do. That's what I assume will be the plan. Again, pressing their advantage up front, but if they do try to push the ball down the field, I think there's a chance that Walters or those other couple guys could make some really good plays.
Yeah. I think we're starting to see the beginnings of what I think Sharon Moore and Kirk Campbell were hoping would happen all season, where you're starting to see playmakers like Tyler Morris, Samaj get a couple of yards here. You're starting to look at, obviously, Kalel Mullings has been, for whatever reason, not used half the time, and I don't really understand that. So again,
Northwestern would love if Michigan keeps that up. For as long as
yeah,
he's on the sidelines, they're on board.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see if again, coaching decisions have been a question mark this year for Michigan as Sharon Moore, being a first year head coach, is figuring it out as we go. So so that's what's happening there. So I guess Northwestern coming into the big house. What do you think Northwestern will need to do to pull off the victory here?
They can't beat themselves. I mean, I think in so many of their losses this season, a lot of times, but again, whether it's Iowa, Washington, Ohio State, a lot of times they're losing these games by 20 plus points. So I don't know if you ever can say, it's like there's one play that breaks the game, but they've actually come out in a lot of those games really strong early, especially on defense. And then they'll just hamstring themselves. Against Ohio State, it was, I'm sure you saw how well the punt went. That made the rounds, and rightfully so, as a catastrophic play. Against Wisconsin, they were strip sacked in the shadow of their own end zone. End up going into halftime down 2 scores instead of a touchdown. Over and over again, this season. Again, I don't know if even if this stuff goes right, it's not always swinging these games, but part of the ways that you would beat a team like Michigan at Michigan is you maintain pressure throughout the game. And they can't be the reason, whether that's like false starts with the crowd noise or holds or special teams miscues or allowing points that way or losing the turnover battle. They can't beat themselves. That's just been kind of their Achilles heel all season, is that they take games where they're behind but close and they put it away themselves. So long as they don't do that, and if they get the right version of Jack Lausch, they can try and make this a game.
Yeah. I think that's very valid. I guess from the Michigan side, right? Because we always try to share both, right? And so from the Michigan side, I think it's remembering what Michigan did in 2023 to win a national championship, right? And play calling that way, as in stop trying to be USC. Michigan is not USC. Michigan is not Ohio State. Michigan runs the ball, right? With Kalel Mullings, who was really dynamic for most of the season. Donovan Edwards continues to be utilized in this backfield capacity, which is driving me absolutely nuts. He's much better at a slot role. He's much better in a perimeter capacity than as the primary back. So for Michigan to win, it's Kalel Mullings, Ben Hall, maybe Jordan Marshall in the backfield at running back. The O-line hopefully can continue to improve with some of the injuries that has happened. And then, of course, on defense, it's about being smart. So it's about not, making sure everybody's in their appropriate position, and you do those things and limit turnovers, which Davis Warren, since he's been back, has limited turnovers. He was doing 3 a game at one point. He's done a better job at that. So I think that I personally think Michigan will cobble enough together to pull off a win that, in previous years might be more, but in this year will be another nail biter. But from a prediction standpoint, where do you have this game at here?
I think right now my prediction is going to be 24-14. Might end up dropping it down to 24-10 at some point, but I don't know. I think 24-14 is a good spot for it. I just think the thing, if I'm Michigan, is that I think the way that Northwestern
which 24-14.
Oh, 24-14 Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I no offense, I'm just not that would be I'm not going 20 points off the spread. No, I mean, I think the way that Michigan wins this game is just staying patient. Northwestern does have a very good run defense. I mean, not as good as Michigan's, which I think is top 10, but Northwestern's still, I think, around top 30. They've done a very good job against the run, but I think if Michigan stays patient, wins field position, just grinds it down, just keeps pushing Northwestern further and further back, they'll make mistakes. The change would be if Michigan tries to get too aggressive or air out, stuff like that. That's when I think Northwestern has a pretty good defensive backfield this season. They can make some plays and kind of change some momentum around. But again, I think Michigan should just go into this game saying we're just going to lean on Northwestern for 60 minutes, and I think they'd win by 10.
It's very fair. And we will be covering it, for those of you watching this recording, you can check out Michigan Wolverines live, the full episode where TJ and I will be giving our predictions, but I'll also give it here to be in all fairness. I think it's going to be 2013 Michigan. I think this is again, like it's just been all season with these nail biters. And even predicting a victory at all is like tough for me because last year it was easy. This year, every game feels like we're just, the whole time we're munching on fingernails. So I do think Michigan, the talent differential, even with guaranteed boneheaded decisions will be made. But I think still the talent is just slightly like you saw it at the end of you saw it second half Indiana, where Michigan was facing Indiana and the talent started to take over where Indiana still won, but Michigan was making it a game. And I think it's because the talent started overcoming the coaching decisions. And that I think you'll see the same thing here where the talent differential will be, but it's still going to be way too close. But here we go. So anything can happen with these things, as we know. Ball shaped funny. So yeah, that'll be Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, FS1, 2:30 Central. And Matt, let us know what you got cooking at Wildcat Report and kind of where people overall can find you if they want to check out your work more.
Yeah, you can find us at northwestern.rivals.com. I think both my as managing editor and publisher's Twitter are right down there at M_Shelton33 and then at Wildcat Report. And yeah, we're just kind of finishing up with our football coverage. Basketball season's kicking off for us. And all important signing day is right around the corner.
There you have it. Yep, it's coming up fast. Well, Matt, I really appreciate you coming on, sparing some time with us. Everybody check out Matt at Wildcat Report. As he just said, the link will also be in the description for people to check out your work as well. Give him a follow. What we try to do, we try to encourage Wolverine Nation to give people follows on X. So if you guys can all give Matt a follow on his X accounts, both M_Shelton and Wildcat Report, so we can help him blow up as well even more. Matt, thanks so much, and yeah, here we go.
Here we go. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks, Matt.